Hi guys, my name is Lucia and welcome back to another video in my series Make Up Your Mind, where I talk about makeup related things I have made my mind up about. Today's video is so special because this is a collab with Paige from Thrifty Beauty. Paige is doing collab week on her channel. I believe this is the first kickoff video to her week. I am so excited to be part of her collab week. Paige is an amazing channel and she has a lot of videos similar to my Make Up Your Mind videos. I have been watching Paige for so long. She describes herself as that friend you need to convince you not to buy things, which I think is a lot like me and how I see myself in the Make Up Your Mind videos. Paige has this way of being super real with you in a way that is not harsh. She tells you like it is, and when you shouldn't buy something, she will be straight up with you, but she's never malicious about it. She's always very polite about it, and she doesn't make you feel like you're doing something wrong. She genuinely makes you feel like you're her friend and you're having a conversation. You guys should definitely go check her out. Paige is doing a video all about the constant desire to buy makeup and asking the question, when is enough enough? And when she proposed this idea to me and she said, do you have any ideas of what you could talk about? And I thought, oh my gosh, yes. Her idea of when is enough enough directly corresponds with makeup addiction. Makeup addiction is something that a lot of people have spoken up about recently in the beauty community. I'm going to link some videos down below that I think really speak the truth about this. This is ladies telling their story. This happens to so many people. A lot of people like to tell me that I reach on this series. If you think that I am reaching by making this video, you are extremely lucky because that means you have never experienced this, but this is a true thing that actually happens. It happened to me. It might be happening to you right now currently if you are watching. No one should feel invalidated for this. You can be addicted to so many more things than alcohol and drugs. There are certain tendencies that we as makeup lovers do that can often turn into makeup addiction. Now, when I think of makeup addiction in the sense that people in the community have talked about, I think about the need to constantly buy makeup, and I am going to talk about that, but I think of it as a spectrum. This is the point where you want to buy everything, and this is the complete opposite, and I think the complete opposite isn't that much better than what most people talk about when they talk about makeup addiction. There is another side that is maybe not as bad, but is certainly detrimental, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about how to find a balance, but yeah, this is my story with makeup addiction. If you guys have been following my channel for a while, you will know that I used to struggle with extreme anxiety. I used to have panic attacks once to twice every single day. I am really proud to say that I cannot remember the last time I had a panic attack. I hardly ever get them. Where I used to get them every day, I now get them every few months. My anxiety has gotten so much better due to therapy and changing my living styles. There is absolutely nothing wrong with going to therapy. I have gone to therapy my entire life, and if you are someone who is struggling with makeup addiction or with anything and you want to talk to someone, you are not crazy. This is a real thing, and it is perfectly okay to want to be in a better place with your life. Let's start with my story. When I first started my channel, I wanted to be a big beauty guru. I wanted to own 1,000 things. I was 16 when I started my channel, and I was 15 when I started to get into makeup. And when you first start to get into makeup, your mindset is on, I need more. I need to complete my collection, especially with all these bigger beauty gurus saying, this is great, try this, and it's all these super high-end things. I was 16. I was in high school. I didn't have the resources to buy all of these things, but I bought what I could. I would leave my house, and every single time I left my house, I would buy something from the drugstore. I live in Center City, not right now because I'm in college, but my home is in the middle of the city, and every time I left my house, I would go to CVS or Rite Aid and I would make a makeup purchase. I would obsess over these purchases. Every single night, I would be up thinking about makeup that I wanted. My stomach was always in knots. There is nothing worse than feeling like you don't have enough 100% of your life. And I know this sounds so dramatic, but it's exactly how it was. Even when I was at school, all I would be thinking was, what makeup can I get? But there was another side to it, because with this constant desire to get makeup came guilt. What if I'm not going to use that makeup that I buy? When I was younger, I had extreme anxiety about spending money. For whatever reason, that was something that really scared me. I didn't know how the world worked. I had no idea how spending money worked when I was little, when I was, like 10, 11, and 12. It scared me to buy anything. And so then when I was getting a little older and I wanted to buy all this makeup, part of me was saying, yes, you need to buy everything, go buy everything. And then part of me was saying, don't waste your money, don't buy everything. So what would end up happening is obsession. I would obsess about certain products. I would go to the store, I would buy them, I would think for a week, should I return this? I wouldn't return it, maybe I would return it. It was so detrimental to my health. I started to realize that every time I looked at my makeup collection, I felt sick. I didn't want to look at my makeup collection, and it's not because I had an insane amount. I was 16, I was babysitting, so I had what I could afford. I had maybe 30 drugstore lipsticks, maybe 10 palettes. I didn't like anything I had because it was never, let me do my research and let me buy things that I really want. I was constantly trying to dupe the high-end things that I wanted. So I was constantly trying to say, what lipstick can I buy that is a dupe for this MAC lipstick, and what blush can I get that's a dupe for this? And I just ended up with all this makeup that I did not like, that did not work for me. Again, I was 16, I didn't know anything about makeup, and a lot of the stuff didn't fit my needs. I would buy a lot of bright blushes, a lot of bright lipsticks, a lot of really matte things, and just things that I didn't like. Everything in my collection, for the most part, was just sitting there. I constantly wanted more. In junior year of high school, I realized that once I got the thing I wanted, I didn't want it anymore. I realized this when I lusted after a product from The Balm called In the Balm of Your Hand. This was a limited edition palette that had all of their most liked products. I lusted after this for so long. This was just after I had gotten the Lorac palette, which I was lusting after, and I got the Balm palette. I got it in my collection, and that night I was like, oh, what's next? But for the first time ever, I really thought to myself, wait a minute. You just got that palette. That was like $40. You spent all your gift card money from Christmas on that palette. Why don't you feel excited to use it? And I didn't. I hardly touched that thing. Now I'm panning some of the products from it, but most of them I depotted and I decluttered because it was just this thing to me. And once I got it, it was on to the next thing. Junior year of high school, my anxiety reached a peak. I was the lead in our musical. I went to a really intensive high school. It was a college prep school, so I had a ton of work. The musical took up all of my time. It was every day after school rehearsing. All of my free time I was rehearsing. I was having panic attacks once to twice a day. I realized that I had to change something. There were so many different factors in my life that were causing me anxiety. And another thing I want to point out was junior year was the best year of high school for me. So even though I had all this anxiety, I was super, super happy. The anxiety wasn't making me depressed. It was just something that I constantly had. I'm not sure if that's going to make sense. I don't quite understand it myself, but that's just how it was. I realized that there were so many angles of my life that were causing me anxiety because at night when I was trying to fall asleep, not only was I thinking about new makeup that I wanted, I was also thinking about, what if I mess up on stage? What if I do this wrong? I am the lead in the musical. It's so much pressure. How am I going to do all my schoolwork? Again, I was super, super, super happy and grateful to be in the place I was, but with success comes doubt and stress. And so I realized that I just needed to make these factors go away. Clearly, I wasn't going to give up my lead in the musical. That was one of the best experiences I have ever had in my life. I needed to change my lifestyle so that that anxiety could lessen, so the overall anxiety would go down. I started to get super into watching Project Pan videos. If you don't know what Project Pan is, I will leave a description down below of what it is and why I do it, as well as my project panning playlist. A lot of people ask me, Lucia, how do I stop buying makeup? I'm going to make a whole video about that. I do want to tell you project panning is an amazing way to do it. There are also groups that you can join that promote project panning and using up what you already have. There is a Facebook group and there might be some Reddit groups, but there are just people to talk to. Anyway, I started to watch project panning. Now at the time I still was doing YouTube, but I wasn't really focusing on my channel. I realized that I didn't want to be someone who was constantly buying and trying to review makeup. I only only had a couple hundred subscribers and it just wasn't worth it. I stopped posting on YouTube and I started to project pan. I did one project pan by myself. I didn't film it because I didn't want to fail. I was really successful, so then I filmed my first project pan. This was at the beginning of 2017. I started to declutter my entire collection. Every single day I was bringing in makeup to give people in my high school that I didn't want anymore. I was rapidly decreasing my collection and I realized that I didn't like anything I had. Hardly any of the makeup I owned was stuff that I actually appreciated and I actually wanted to keep. Here comes the other end of the spectrum that I was talking about earlier. I told you my story with makeup addiction. My hope was to be perfect. I suddenly realized that makeup goes bad. What was I doing buying 4 blushes? You could never get through an entire blush before it goes bad. I started to obsess over that and it started to take over my mind. Suddenly, I wasn't happy again looking at my makeup collection, but it wasn't because I was lusting after new products. It was because I realized I could never ever use up what I had. That really got to me. When I started project panning, as helpful as that was, I also realized, oh my god, it takes months to use up a lipstick. It takes months to hit pan on face powder. How am I gonna use up everything? Maybe that wasn't as detrimental as wanting everything because I wasn't trying to spend a lot of money and I wasn't obsessing over new products, but that was still incredibly detrimental. I started to think maybe I shouldn't ever buy any new makeup ever again. It stopped being fun. Both of these things completely suck the fun out of makeup. There is nothing wrong with wanting to purchase things and there is nothing wrong with wanting to declutter things, but when you let that take over your mind and you obsess the way I didn't have fun anymore with it. I remember Jessica Braun, who is now a YouTuber that actually subscribes to me and she's commented on some videos. I have been watching her for years. I have said this before. I remember she did a Q&A where she was opening Snapchats. I remember that she did a bunch of declutters and I really wanted her advice. This was 2 or 3 years ago. I sent her a Snapchat and in the Snapchat I said, I have a question. How do you deal with the fact that you will never go through all your makeup? How does that not weigh you down? Does that ever hurt you in a mental way? Are you ever struggling with that? And I was really fortunate enough that she opened that Snapchat on her video and she answered that. I'm sure that video is still up. I have not seen it since the day I watched it. Her answer really helped me. She said, you're always going to have more makeup than you can use up. And that's okay. You just have to accept that. But you have to be in the mindset of, you know, keeping what you love and decluttering what you don't. And as long as you're doing that, there's only so much you can do. Because even if you're project panning, you just can't use everything. That was a big turning point for me. This was a YouTuber and still is a YouTuber that I look up to. She has been one of my favorites for years, and to hear her give me that advice was really helpful. And I started to think, okay, I'm not gonna be able to use up all of my products. What I did was I started to disassociate happiness with my makeup, because before I needed to reach this perfect equilibrium, and as soon as I reached that, then I would be happy. And I watched all these makeup collection videos where it was minimalist people showing their collection and they owned one lipstick and one blush, and I thought, ooh, I want to get to that one day. I really didn't. I didn't want that, but I didn't know how to be happy without that. And I learned that obsessing over panning and obsessing over decluttering wasn't good for me either. When I got to college, I had basically stopped obsessing over this. I had an extremely minimal makeup collection. I had 3 eyeshadow palettes, I had 5 lipsticks, I had a couple blushes, and I thought, this is perfect. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pan a palette for this year. I'm gonna pan a palette for next year. I'll only own 1 eyeshadow palette after that. I'll pan every single one of my lipsticks. Here's what happened. I got bored. You guys see my makeup looks. I like to do really colorful stuff. This is a pink look. It's not the most colorful thing I've done, but I love to play with color. And I got so bored. It's not because I got sick of the makeup I was using. It's not because I didn't like the makeup I was using, but I realized, how am I supposed to be inspired if I limit myself to a certain amount of numbers and I say, you can only find happiness if you have 5 lipsticks? What if that doesn't inspire me anymore? We as people, we grow and we change, and that's okay. That's normal and that happens. And now I want to get to the part where I talk about where I am now. I got to a point where I just felt okay, and I am still there. You guys know that now I receive some PR. I've gotten some questions. Lucia, does that give you anxiety? And the answer is no, because I am so excited to be able to review things for you guys and to have more knowledge for this series. But I know that if I don't love the things that I am trying, I'm going to declutter them and donate them to shelters that accept slightly used makeup. I'm never going to get back to the place where I am lusting after makeup and thinking about makeup and not using what I have, because I've been there. It's not a good place to be. And I know now, with the knowledge I have, that I'm not going to get back there. I know how to not get back there. Another thing that I've realized, and I've gotten this question too, people say, do you ever lust after makeup anymore? Does that even happen? And the answer is no. If I want something, I don't lust after it. I don't think about it. I get a sample from Sephora, and if I like it, I buy it. Now, I'm not saying I never ever stay up thinking about something. There have been a couple instances where I've been super inspired by something, but it's never this obsession. It's never obsessing over it and thinking, I need it, I need it, I need it. It's more of like a, hey, that would add value to my life. I want to bring that in, and then I feel good about it. An example would be the Becca First Light priming filter. I really wanted a more glowy primer, so I went to Sephora, I got a sample of the Becca First Light. I liked it, and so I bought it. I didn't think about it. It came in the mail super early, and I was like, that's exciting, and now I use it. I can say, I don't ever really say this about many products, but I love that primer. I'm wearing it today. That brings so much value to my life. I think it is so beautiful, but I can happily say that I'm not obsessed over it. I never found that I was being detrimental to my own health. Now, I'm not saying that it is necessarily a problem. If you can do all of these things and not have any detriments, then you do you. You do what works for you. This is my story. That's where I am now. I'm very excited to be at a place where, like I said, I hardly ever get panic attacks anymore. I am at a place where, with PR, my makeup collection is growing a little bit, but I don't mind that because I know that I'm going to be thorough with reviews. I know that I'm not going to keep stuff I don't love. And I know that as long as I am promoting the mentality of let's think before we buy, then I just gotta do what works for me. If in a year I'm back where I was and I think, oh my gosh, I don't want to have a lot of makeup, I really do want to have 5 lipsticks and 5 blushes, I'll let you know. I'll keep you updated. But for right now, that is where I am, and that's my story. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. Please let me know if you have ever experienced anything like this. Let's be respectful in the comments. Don't forget to watch Paige's video. I cannot wait to watch it. Like I said, I love her channel. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye.